Chapter 825. Hua Qihan had been in charge of the Hua Corporation for more than 10 years. After the initial panic, he quickly forced himself to calm down and said sadly, "What do you want to do? These are all old employees of the company. They have worked hard for the Hua Corporation even if they didn't make any contributions. You can't just drive me away, but you also want to drive away these old employees who have worked hard for the Hua Corporation. Aren't you afraid that the company will be disappointed?" Disappointed? If they aren't afraid that what they did will make the company's employees feel disappointed, why should I keep this fig leaf for them? When Hua Qinhuan said this, he stared into Hua Qihan's eyes. His gaze was cold and sharp, as if it could penetrate his outer shell and strip away all the greedy and dirty thoughts in his heart and expose them to the world. They are indeed old employees who have worked hard for the company. If they knew their place and diligently did their jobs, I naturally wouldn't touch them. It's just that they shouldn't have used their identities to do things that are against the law. Hua Qihan's face completely changed. He struggled to push aside the reporters in front of him and wanted to rush forward. Hua Qinhuan winked at the people in front of him. The originally impenetrable human wall quickly opened a small gap, just enough for Hua Qihan to squeeze through. The reporters behind Hua Qihan suddenly came to their senses when they saw this. They also ran over, wanting to tear open the gap and rush to Hua Qinhuan. Unfortunately, their reaction was not as fast as the security guards, and they were once again blocked outside the human wall. Some people were so angry that they couldn't help but want to curse. They were stopped, but their mouths were still a little unwilling to be left out. "President Hua, do you have any explanation for Mr. Hua's claim that you colluded with the company's old employees to force his brother out of the Hua Corporation? President Hua, is what Mr. Hua just said about the will true? Did old President Hua really leave a will to Mr. Hua? So now you're taking the Hua Corporation away from your brother. Are you dissatisfied with old President Hua's arrangements before his death? President Hua, what exactly do you mean by breaking the law and breaking the discipline? The old employees you just mentioned, were they fired because they did something unspeakable? Will you hold them accountable? President Hua, please answer our questions." President Hua, the reporters asked questions one after another. Hua Qinhuan casually responded to any one of them, and it was enough to turn into big news about the internal disputes of the rich and powerful. However, he did not say a word. Instead, he looked coldly at Hua Qihan, who had rushed up to him and was about to grab his collar. Hua Qinhuan narrowed her eyes. Chapter 826. Hua Qihan's whole body trembled, and his face went blank for a moment. He knew what Hua Qinhuan was talking about. On the one hand, he encouraged himself in his heart. He felt that it was impossible for Hua Qinhuan to really get any crucial evidence. Otherwise, it would be impossible for him to hold back until now. On the other hand, he couldn't help but feel nervous and afraid. What if? If he really did have it, then wouldn't he? Hua Qinhuan saw the fear in Hua Qihan's eyes and sneered with some sarcasm and temptation. "Go back and ask your good son." Hua Qihan's face changed and he roared, "Impossible." Hua Qinhuan stared at him condescendingly and said with pity, "Why is it impossible? Do you think he won't betray you, or do you think he doesn't have the ability to get what you are trying to hide?" Hua Qihan's face turned green and white, but he couldn't say a word to refute Hua Qinhuan. Hua Xiaofeng had already taken his family's money and ran away. Hua Qihan couldn't say that it was impossible for his son to betray him. As for whether he had the ability or not, in Hua Qihan's opinion, it was indeed impossible for Hua Xiaofeng to have this ability. But the key was that before the father and son fell out, Hua Qihan also valued and loved his son very much. Because of this, Hua Qihan had never been on guard against Hua Xiaofeng at that time. It was not surprising that Hua Xiaofeng would get these things. Understanding this, Hua Qihan trembled with anger. He had never realized so deeply in his life that it was better to have a piece of barbecued pork than to have a son like Hua Xiaofeng. Hua Qinhuan's purpose had been achieved. She was too lazy to waste her breath on these people. She directly asked someone to throw Hua Qihan out and turned to enter the company. Young master, you told Hua Qihan that those things were given to you by Hua Xiaofeng. Do you want them to kill each other? Haven't they already killed each other? Ever since Hua Xiaofeng had led his men to loot Hua Qihan's house, or even before that, there was no possibility for the father and son to reconcile. What he was doing now was only adding fuel to the fire, making this father and son fratricidal drama even more exciting. Not long after the farce over Hua Qinhuan ended, the reporters struck while the iron was hot and came up with 7 or 8 strange news versions. When Su Yiyan received the news page sent by Ling Xiaoqi, she was busy arranging for the internal staff to be transferred to other positions. She didn't want to click on the news that suddenly popped up. He glanced at the title and saw the words, Family Hua, Brothers Yamawal. Family Hua brothers. Could it be her husband? When he clicked on it to take a look, it was true. The reporter who wrote this report was obviously an experienced editor. He was very sophisticated in his choice of words and sentences. His words were concise and vivid in reconstructing what had happened at the scene. There was also a small video of the scene. The resolution of the video was not high. It was obvious that it was taken from a distance. Only the outline of the figure could be vaguely seen, but the sound was not low. When Su Yiyan first heard Hua Qihan's questioning of Hua Qinhuan, he was so angry that he almost slammed the table and stood up. He immediately wanted to rush to the Hua family to tear Hua Qihan apart. However, he was immediately met with his own man's counterattack. Although Su Yiyan, like most of the people present, had no impression of the names mentioned by Hua Qinhuan, he could roughly guess that these people were part of the evidence Hua Xiaofeng gave to Hua Qinhuan about Hua Qihan's crimes. Hua Qihan's reaction also confirmed this. Chapter 827. Su Yiyan was quite angry when he saw the beginning of the video, but he felt refreshed and relieved when he saw the end. Especially when he saw Hua Qihan kneeling in front of Hua Qinhuan, Su Yiyan almost slapped the table in praise. Hua Qinhuan's kick to Hua Qihan was blocked by the group of security guards in front of them, so the reporters with their cameras did not capture it at all. Therefore, in this video, Hua Qihan desperately rushed to Hua Qinhuan, knelt on the ground, and begged him for something. After hearing this, Hua Qinhuan leaned over and patted him on the shoulder, asking someone to drag him away. When he was carried past the reporters, Hua Qihan was still in a trance, as if he had suffered a huge blow. Combined with what Hua Qinhuan had said to him before, some network detectives had already begun to imagine the truth behind this video. There were only a few possibilities in their imaginations. Was the so-called will of the family Hua true? Between the two brothers of the family Hua, who was the real master of the Hua group? Why did the elder brother, who was so indignant a few minutes ago and accused his younger brother of being an ingrate, kneel down and beg for mercy in front of his younger brother a few minutes later? Were there any hidden secrets in this? Also, what was the so-called layoff list? What did the second master of the family Hua mean by breaking the law and discipline? Looking at the elder brother's nervous expression, did these old employees who were about to be fired have anything to do with him? Did the things that his younger brother said have anything to do with him? Su Yiyan stared at the large group of reporters in the video and immediately guessed the whole story. Hua Qihan wanted to use these reporters to put pressure on Hua Qinhuan, but he should also know that this would not change anything. However, he had a miserable life, but he had to watch his nemesis get better and better. How could he be willing to do that? Even if he could not change the situation, he wanted to disgust Hua Qinhuan. Unfortunately, he was too self-righteous and forgot that these reporters were the best at taking advantage of the situation. They helped him because they thought that he could bring them big news. When this big news was related to him, they could still turn around and bite off a piece of meat from him. You deserve it. Su Yiyan laughed and scolded him. She couldn't wait to see Hua Qihan being arrested and sent to prison. As her own boss, Su Yiyan openly slacked off during working hours without any professional ethics. She repeatedly watched the blurry video several times, imagining the heroic posture of her man tearing the scum apart with his bare hands. In the end, he decided to leave early and go home to cook a table of delicious food to reward her. Unfortunately, plans could not keep up with changes. When Su Yiyan arrived home, the nanny had just finished feeding the baby and walked away. The baby lay alone in the cradle and looked around with his grape-like eyes. Suddenly, he paused and shuddered. Compared to Silly Boy, who was used to playing around, Dun Dun liked to stay by the baby's side and would occasionally help the baby push the cradle. Dun Dun seemed to have sensed that something was wrong. It climbed onto the table and looked down at the cradle with its dark eyes. When Su Yiyan came in and saw this scene, she smiled. Just as she was about to approach, she heard a soft sound from the cradle. "Da-woo!" Dun Dun was frightened by this sound and immediately rolled off the table with a howl. The little guy seemed to be amused by Dun Dun's exaggerated reaction and grinned. "Ha ha ha," then there was another sound, "Da-woo, Su Yiyan." Chapter 828. The little guy burped and couldn't stop. Su Yiyan watched from the side. It was fine at first, but she couldn't help burping with him. Uncle Zhang held the little guy and patted him for a while. Fortunately, the little guy stopped burping. When he turned around, he met Su Yiyan's lingering fear. He was startled and smiled faintly. "Young madam, don't worry. It's normal for children to burp. Even adults occasionally burp. It's just that children's stomachs are more delicate. If they eat too much or too fast, it's easy for them to burp." Su Yiyan was deep in thought when she heard that. She then poked her son's little face and said, "You drink milk so quickly every time. Be careful that you don't become fat and can't find a wife in the future." The little guy thought that his mother was playing with him. He hugged Su Yiyan's fingers and giggled. Su Yiyan played with the little guy for a while, then turned around and went into the kitchen. She took a deep breath and turned on the live broadcast camera that she hadn't turned on for a long time. After nearly 3 months, the audience in Su Yiyan's live streaming room finally waited for their host again. "Oh my God, I'm crying. The host is broadcasting again. It's a lifetime series. Hello, Grandma. The host you follow is broadcasting again. Come and see. Why do I feel like the host has lost weight? Sure enough, beautiful women are just fat for fun. Upstairs, look at my helpless little eyes." After the host gave birth to the baby, she naturally lost weight. And it's reasonable to suspect that you haven't watched the host's live broadcast. The host hasn't shown her face yet. Where did the word "beautiful woman" come from? Did some people have their lungs pierced? As long as it's a girl, she's called a beautiful woman. Is this an adjective? It's just a courtesy. Do you think I don't know if the host has shown her face? Do you need to pretend to be a fox pretending to be a tiger and criticize me righteously? Su Yiyan didn't expect that after not broadcasting for a few months, the audience would tear her apart over whether she was a beautiful woman or not. Fortunately, the host appeared in time and didn't say much nonsense. He directly smashed a few villas to drown out those discussions. Congratulations to the host, Yen Yen, for receiving a luxurious Villa X10 from the host, Mountain Yusu. Please continue to work hard and don't let down your youth. Mountain Yusu, the host's appearance and face-related discussion is prohibited in the live broadcast room. First warning, second ban, third permanent ban. Hope you know. The notification was as domineering as ever. It silenced the noisy audience, and the comments in the live broadcast room were peaceful. After a few seconds, the audience began to speak one after another. Good job, admin. Isn't it a common practice to not discuss topics about the host's face in the live broadcast room? Newbies, remember to read the rules of the live broadcast room before entering the live broadcast. If anyone still wants to incite conflict in the live stream after being reminded, they will be dealt with as trolls and paid posters. As soon as this comment was posted, it immediately received the approval of countless viewers. They had been watching Su Yiyen's live broadcast for more than a year. They boasted that they had seen a lot of storms and waves. They were more and more skilled in dealing with such matters. Su Yiyen stared at the announcement made by her host. It was as if she suddenly had a backbone. She couldn't help but smile a little more. Long time no see. I'm the host, Yen Yen. I haven't been broadcasting for a few months because of the baby. I thought everyone had forgotten about me. I didn't expect there to be so many people watching the live broadcast room. Chapter 829. When Su Yiyen said this, she looked up at the number of viewers in the upper left corner of the live broadcast room. In just a short while, a large number of viewers flooded in, and the number of viewers in the low 7 digits shot up to the high 8 digits. She was undoubtedly the top streamer. As soon as Su Yiyen said this, the comments on the bullet screen immediately increased, and a lot of flattery and confessions quickly took place. The host really doesn't know how popular she is. These are only a small number of people. At this time, many people have just gotten off work and probably haven't reacted yet. If it's any later, I'm worried that the live broadcast room will be overcrowded. Ha 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 ha, I'm worried too, so I'm taking a seat obediently. No one can squeeze me out. Hello, is this Uncle Cop? I want to report that the guilty party is suing the victim first. It's clearly the host's family of 3 living happily and forgetting about us. How dare you accuse us of forgetting you? You should be punished. Punish the host by making a big meal today as a reward for us. As long as the host doesn't turn off the broadcast, we won't leave. We'll walk the flower path with the host until the end of the world. I always felt that something was missing when the host wasn't around. Now that the host is back, let's send some gifts first. After such a long hiatus, countless enthusiastic viewers spontaneously showered Su Yiyen with gifts. In a short while, they pushed her back to the top of the gift list. Su Yiyen was shocked by the enthusiasm of the crowd. She was stunned for a moment before she reacted. She didn't know whether to laugh or cry. Thank you for your support, everyone. Stop showering me with gifts. I'm embarrassed to receive gifts after such a long hiatus. Ha 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 ha, we want the host to feel embarrassed so that she can broadcast more in the future. Brothers, let's send gifts. F***ck, there's such a thing. I get it. Let's send gifts. Su Yiyen's words not only failed to persuade them, but also made them send gifts even more happily. She really couldn't keep up with these people's brain circuits. Ahem. Today, I'd like to bring you some medicinal cuisines for children's illnesses. Children. Did the streamer want to do this live stream because of the baby at home? Speaking of which, the host's baby is almost a month old, right? I want to see a cute baby. +1. The host and her husband's children must be very cute. Even if they can't see the host, they can look at the children. As an old single dog, my favorite thing to do is to suck puppies. If the streamer allows the baby to show up, I promise to abandon the previous harem of Zai Zai. From now on, I will only dote on the streamer's Zai Zai. Please Zai Zai, please Zai Zai. Su Yiyen looked at the comments that flashed by quickly. Even through the screen, she could imagine the greedy eyes of this group of weird uncles and aunties sharpening their knives to kill her child. The corner of her mouth twitched slightly, and she decisively ignored their requests. Children's stomachs are tender and delicate. Compared to adults, they are weaker. Usually, if the child really had a minor illness or pain, parents were also afraid that taking too much medicine would not be good for the child's health. Today, I'll bring you a few medicinal cuisines that are suitable for children's tastes, can improve children's physiques, and speed up their recovery. Su Yiyen said as she took out the ingredients for today's dishes from the cabinet at the side. She arranged them simply and placed them on the table. Today, the first thing I'm going to make today is radish honey drink and lily beer pear lotus root soup. Chapter 8:30. The weather has changed a lot recently, and the temperature difference between day and night is nearly 10 degrees. It's the season for colds. If adults don't pay attention, it's easy for them to catch a cold, let alone children who are weak. As soon as Su Yiyen finished speaking, she immediately got the approval of many of the mothers in the live broadcast room. Yes, yes, yes. My baby was affected 2 days ago. He caught a cold, had a fever, and had a runny nose. He lost a lot of weight in a few days. If the medicine is too light, it won't be so easy to recover. If it's too heavy, we're afraid that it will hurt the child. After catching a cold, he's uncomfortable. As parents, we feel like we're fighting a war. My baby is the same. He's usually very active, but when he catches a cold, he's like a kitten. Usually, when he makes a fuss, I can't wait to pick him up and spank him. Now that he's not making a fuss, my heart feels sour and uncomfortable. The mothers were busy sharing their babies on the bullet screen. A group of single viewers trembled and didn't dare to speak. Sob, 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 they couldn't keep up with others in marriage, and they couldn't keep up with giving birth. Lily and pear white lotus root soup. The main ingredients are lily, pear, and lotus root. It's recorded in Materia Medica that pear and lily have the effect of purging heat and reducing phlegm, moistening the lungs, and quenching thirst. Lotus root also has the effect of clearing heat. Stewing these 3 things together can relieve a child's cold, cough, and other symptoms to a certain extent. As Su Yiyen spoke, she tore the lily into pieces and cut the pear and lotus root into small pieces. First, she stewed the lily and lotus root for 10 minutes, then added the pear together to make the soup. I've made a medicinal diet for coughing before, snow pear with rock sugar, which is also suitable for children. Today, I'm bringing another medicinal diet for coughing, radish honey drink. Radish has always been known to be better than ginseng. Oh, it's the ginseng that appeared in my live broadcast room before. New viewers who don't know can look through the previous recordings. Radish is rich in nutrients. It has the effect of reducing phlegm, stopping coughing, clearing heat, and promoting saliva. Ginger can kill bacteria and disperse cold. Together with honey and dates, it's very effective for coughing caused by colds. While Su Yiyen was speaking, the dates, radish, and ginger slices were all thrown into the pot and boiled. Both of the soups took some time. After they were cooked, Su Yiyen immediately started cooking other dishes. Next, I'll make 2 medicinal cuisines to improve the children's anemia. Some children are prone to anemia after 6 months of birth. At this time, they need to eat something to replenish their blood to improve their physique. There was a saying that one must first replenish iron in order to replenish blood. This was because iron could help the human body synthesize red blood cells, thereby improving anemia symptoms. Among all the ingredients, the liver contains the most iron element. Today, I'm going to make fresh eggplant liver and stir-fried lamb liver with chives. Both dishes use livers, but the lamb liver stir-fried with chives used lamb liver, while the pork liver stir-fried with eggplant was used. But no matter what, the white membrane on the liver had to be removed first. Otherwise, the liver would be full of a fishy smell. Not to mention children, even adults might not be willing to eat it. Su Yiyen brushed a few times to remove the film, cut it into slices, and blanched it with water. Children's immunity is weaker, so you have to be more careful with what you put into your mouth. In order to avoid some invisible bacteria in the raw food, you can first boil it in water to sterilize it. It's safer. Su Yiyen fished out the slices of lamb liver as she spoke. She heated up the oil in the wok and stir-fried it with scallions and ginger until it was fragrant. Then, she poured in the lamb liver. In an instant, the live broadcast room was filled with smoke, and the aroma was overflowing. Chapter 831. Stir-fried lamb liver with chives was relatively easy to make. After stir-frying the lamb liver, add soy sauce and chives, and stir-fry it on high heat for a while. It had to be said that cooking still required some talent. After Su Yiyen became popular on the live streaming website, it wasn't that no one saw the business opportunity. They copied Su Yiyen's live streaming method and wanted to create a second Su Yiyen. Especially in the 3 months when Su Yiyen was off the air, various live streaming platforms had emerged endlessly. There was even a platform that held a food live streaming competition in order to attract some viewers from Chew on Chew to attract some viewers. However, these streamers who were promoted by marketing power had neither Su Yiyen's Chinese medicinal herbs, nor her knife skills, nor her good craftsmanship that turned something rotten into something magical. Some of the viewers who were led away by the topic went to other streamers on other websites and were fed a hand of poison. They had to run back to Su Yiyen's live streaming video to detoxify themselves. However, there was still a certain gap between a live streaming video and a live streaming video. After waiting for 3 months to be fed, the viewers were almost crying when they finally had a bite of good food. Without needing Su Yiyen's reminder, they couldn't wait to open the taste simulator and taste it. It's it, it's it, it's it. This familiar taste, sob sob sob, I'm so moved that I'm about to cry. After 3 months, I'm already crying in front of the screen when I'm eating the food in the streamer's live streaming room again. I hope the streamer can be more diligent in the future. Don't forget that other than the little rascal, there are also us viewers who have been waiting for you to come back and feed you. I actually quite like to eat pig liver, but there's no way to make it as fresh and crisp as the streamers. It's cooked but not burnt. Previously, when the streamer made pig liver porridge, I tried to make it myself once. It was shameful and dry, and I felt wronged and cried. These viewers' mouths were also fed by Su Yiyen's craftsmanship. Some of the things that were edible before were now difficult to eat. Why else would it be said that it was easy to go from simplicity to luxury, but difficult to go from luxury to frugality? Su Yiyen removed the water from the previously marinated pig liver and cut it into pieces. When she looked up, she saw the message and smiled faintly. Pig liver is shameful because of the white film inside, so it must be removed before cooking. If it's firewood, it's probably because you've been cooking it for too long. You can just cut it short. It was more troublesome to make fresh eggplant and liver. First, the boiled sweet potatoes were pressed into a puree, then the pig liver and flour were added to mix it into a paste. After that, the thick pieces were kneaded out by hand and fried in the pan to form the eggplant and liver. After the tomatoes were stir-fried, the water starch was added, and the light soy sauce was thickened into a sauce. Then, the sauce was directly drizzled over the eggplant steak. It was crispy on the outside and tender on the inside, and the aroma of fresh eggplant and liver steak was the best. This dish can be eaten by babies born in October and above. However, you have to pay attention to the fact that you can't make the pork liver too hard when you cook the fresh eggplant and liver stew. Otherwise, it won't be easy to digest. Su Yiyen said while wiping his hands, speaking of which, I'll be bringing a few medicinal cuisines that can relieve constipation in children. Honey milk sesame soup, mulberry desert cistanche soup, and sweet potato porridge. These 3 have a sweet taste and are not as bitter as medicine, so they are very suitable for children. After Su Yiyen finished speaking, she was ready to start with the most time-consuming mulberry desert cistanche soup. Just as she took out the casserole, she heard a ding-dong sound from the live broadcast room. She originally thought that her man or some old viewers who came in later had sent her some gifts. When she looked up and glanced at it, the expression on her face froze. Chapter 832. Congratulations to the host, Yen Yen, for receiving 100 luxurious villas from a loyal viewer, not even one day. After testing, the amount of rewards given by the user, not even one day, in the Yen Yen's little kitchen, live broadcast room has met the upgrade requirements, automatically upgraded to the host's Silver Guardian. As soon as the reward message came out, the live broadcast room was immediately flooded with gifts. Not only did it stun the tens of millions of viewers in Su Yiyen's live broadcast room, but it also attracted some viewers from other live broadcast rooms and channels. If I remember correctly, a luxurious villa should cost 10,000 yuan, right? So this new nouveau riche just came in and threw in 1,000,000 yuan. The happiness of the rich is really not something that ordinary people like us can imagine. I'm so jealous. The nouveau riche who came to watch quickly gave out 1,000,000 yuan. This is no longer a nouveau riche, but a godly nouveau riche, right? After the number one daddy on the leaderboard, is there going to be another big boss in our live broadcast room? There were many nouveau riches squatting in Su Yiyen's live broadcast room, but because of the existence of Hu Chenhuan, the human-shaped bug who used public resources for private purposes, she occupied the number one daddy position all year round and laughed at everyone. On the contrary, it made the little nouveau riches, who could easily occupy a spot in other live broadcast rooms, somewhat inconspicuous. Now, it seemed that there was finally someone who could fight. Everyone present was a little excited and wanted to see who was the real battle magnate among the nouveau riches. Of course, not everyone was happy to see this. Some viewers who were frightened by the unusual data couldn't help but feel a little worried. 1,000,000 yuan in one shot. If he's not a real nouveau riche, then his brain must be muddled and he used something that shouldn't be used. I hope it's not the latter. I just saw two similar news 2 days ago. I hope the host won't be affected by this. I also saw the one above. To be honest, I'm a little worried. In this regard, the new big boss's response was, to give Su Yiyen another 100 luxurious villas. Not even one day, I didn't use it, I have money. The viewers in the live stream were stunned by this move, and the comments on the bullet screen went blank for a while before a comment popped up. F***CK, listen, listen, listen. Is this something a human would say? The words, I have money, made me smell a little rich man's domineering aura. Where did this overbearing CEO come from? Someone come and wake me up. What do you mean rich man's domineering aura? Be direct, it's clearly the fragrance of money. The viewers in the live stream were relieved and began to flatter the newly promoted nouveau riche. However, Su Yiyen's face sank after seeing this person's ID. Not even a day. If the first few words were read backwards, wouldn't it be? Do Tianyi. He appeared in her medicinal cuisine restaurant, sneaked into the hotel where her child's full moon ceremony was held, and the company that was originally completely opposed to her suddenly had a very good attitude and wanted to cooperate with her company. Now, he appeared in her live broadcast room. Su Yiyen did not think it was a coincidence. Su Yiyen's mind was spinning. He didn't know how to reasonably ignore this new nouveau riche. The top of the live broadcast room was flooded with red packets again, and the colorful special effects followed. Congratulations to the host, Yen Yen, for receiving a luxurious villa *520 from the host. Mountain you 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 mountain. Ein you mountain 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 you. Chapter 833. This reward was too overbearing. It was enough to make this special effect flash in Su Yiyen's live stream for more than an hour. Not only did it shock Su Yiyen, but it also stunned many viewers who had joked not long ago that the new nouveau riche would be able to knock down the number one daddy on the leaderboard. What the F***CK? Absent. JPG, facts have proven that your daddy is still your daddy. The number one daddy on the leaderboard is the tallest. Even a pheasant who changed halfway wants to be a phoenix. Don't be afraid of him. Just do it, go for it. Wait, love is stronger than gold. When did the website have such an exclusive title? Why haven't I seen it before? I haven't seen it before either. It should be unlocked after spending a certain amount. Think about it carefully. Which streamer on the website is as rich as the one in our live stream? Look at this person's fan value. TSK. How much money did he spend on the streamer? Love is stronger than gold. Ha 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 ha, I'm dying of laughter. Love is stronger than gold. Is this an official stamp? Come, let me see how many other flirtatious B***cheese want to usurp the throne. As long as the number one daddy doesn't fall, no matter how much you jump around, you'll only be a servant who washes feet. You can't even be considered a concubine. When Su Yiyen saw the 520, her eyebrows twitched. She silently shouted in her heart, "What a prodigal man." Before she could finish feeling heartache, Do Tianyi, not to be outdone, also threw a 520 over. Congratulations to the streamer, Yen, for receiving 520 luxurious and exquisite villas from loyal viewers. None at all. Congratulations to the streamer, Yen, for receiving 520 luxurious and exquisite villas from the great host, Mulberry Without Mountain. Congratulations to the streamer, Yen, for receiving 1314 luxurious and exquisite villas from loyal viewers. None at all. Congratulations to the streamer, Yen, for receiving 1314 luxurious and exquisite villas from the great host, Mulberry Without Mountain. High reward after high reward flashed past the top of the live broadcast room like flowing water. The audience watched the battle between the two big shots. From the initial excitement to shock, fear, and finally, numbness. They felt that their worldview had been reshaped. They almost couldn't recognize money anymore. Su Yiyen was the same. From the initial heartache to depression, and then to numbness, it took less than a minute. But even if he was numb, Su Yiyen still felt his eyes hurt when he looked at the screen full of colorful special effects. Finally, he couldn't help but smash the kitchen knife he used to cut sweet potatoes on the chopping board. Enough. The kitchen knife hit the chopping board with a loud thud. Everyone in the live broadcast room, including the two merciless money spamming machines, was shocked. Many people looked at the kitchen knife that was firmly inserted into the edge of the chopping board. Its tip even emitted a cold light. For some reason, they suddenly felt a chill run down their necks, and they immediately became cowards. This is a proper gourmet live broadcast room. If you want to spam, go somewhere else. Can't you see that the screen is occupied by you? Can't you let others speak? Can't you let others watch the live broadcast? The turtle dove has taken over the magpie's nest. Do you really think this is your territory? In other live broadcast rooms, the streamers greeted the big shots on the leaderboards with smiles, hoping that they would give them more rewards. This live broadcast room was different. Not only was it not grateful to the rich big shots who were spamming the screen to fight for favor, but it was also directly attacked by the irritable big sister. Many of the audience watching the live broadcast couldn't help but gasp. They broke out in cold sweat for Su Yiyen. They were afraid that she would attack the top daddy of the leaderboards and leave. However, unexpectedly, after being attacked, the two of them didn't continue to spam gifts. Instead, they admitted defeat. Chapter 834. Not at all, I was wrong. I'm sorry. I won't do it again. Mountain Yusu, I didn't consider it well. I'm sorry. There won't be a next time. The audience's eyes widened as they stared at the two comments in disbelief. They had actually become cowards just like that, but why did they suddenly feel a little disappointed? However, with the two of them being scared, the audience, who had been a little worried, hardened their resolve. Tisk, tsk, tsk. Look at their tone. Don't they look like concubines who tried their best to fight for favor in front of the host but were despised? So sad. Just these two. Concubines. They're at most 3 years old. Our host is not an emperor. She's a kindergarten director. She has one child in each hand. She specializes in dealing with naughty children. Ha ha ha, today's live broadcast is really worth it. Not only can I watch the host cook delicious food and eat delicious food, but I can also witness the big shots fighting for favor. I can also imagine the overbearing president falling in love with my palace. I'm so happy. I'm talking about you. Look at what you've done to the screen in the live broadcast room. The airship is flying everywhere, and the special effects are flashing. Our eyes are dazzled. So what if you're rich? Do you really think you can win the host's heart by throwing money around? Naive. The host is mine. The host is right. You can show off if you have a little money. Do you really think you can win the host's heart? Don't you know that the host has a husband and children? You're spoiling her. The audience, who had been blinded by the special effects and had some subtle hatred for the rich, seemed to have found their backbone in an instant. They began to mock and ridicule the two big shots who occupied the top of the list. As a result, after a comment was posted, and when they wanted to post more, they found, "Dear user, you have been banned for half an hour because your comments in the live broadcast room violated the forum rules. Please wait patiently for the ban to be lifted. Regulate the online comments. Happiness is yours and mine. Everyone. QAQ, what the hell, happiness is yours and mine." It turned out that being rich was really amazing. Not only could you be first on the list, but your father could also be a room manager. The two of them stopped causing trouble, and the live broadcast room returned to its original liveliness and harmony. Su Yiyen temporarily turned off the flashing special effects and focused on making the remaining 3 medicinal cuisines. In addition to mulberries and desert sistanch, the mulberry desert sistanch soup also added black sesame seeds and stir-fried citrus aurantium. The mulberries were slightly sweet, and the black sesame seeds were rich. After boiling, the soup was sweet and delicious, and there was almost no medicinal taste. Honey milk sesame soup was a small dessert soup after meals. Fried sesame seeds with milk and honey were added. It was fragrant, sweet, and soft. It was very suitable for children who liked sweet things. Ripe sweet potatoes also had their own sweetness. When mixed with sweet rice and boiled together with a little white sugar, it could also stimulate a child's appetite and promote digestion. By the time Su Yiyen was almost done with all the ingredients, the lily beer pear and lotus root soup was almost ready. She added the lily slices that she had prepared earlier and simmered them for 10 minutes. Okay, that's all for today's live stream. As usual, there would be a lucky draw before the broadcast ended. A few lucky audience members would be chosen, and each of them would get to taste a dish. Although today's theme is children's medicinal cuisine, these things can actually be eaten by adults as well. But do you adults have the nerve to snatch food from children? Adults who didn't have a conscience rubbed their hands in glee and expressed their lack of moral integrity. Who wasn't a baby? Don't worry, we won't show mercy just because our competitors are children. Chapter 835. The lucky draw was very fast, and the list of the lucky audience members came out immediately. Su Yiyen glanced at it and confirmed that Do Tianyi's ID was not on it. She breathed a sigh of relief and previewed the next live stream. Next time, if there are no accidents, the children will have diarrhea, hiccups, night cries, and nutritional deficiencies. Those who are interested can pay attention. The exact time of the live stream is to be determined. I will try my best to restore the previous live stream frequency. I won't stand you up for so long like this time. After Su Yiyan finished speaking, she ignored the people in the live stream and coldly turned off the live stream. When she turned her head, she saw the figure of her man at the kitchen door as expected. Su Yiyan narrowed her eyes and couldn't help but sneer when she recalled the huge amount of money this person had spent on the live stream not long ago. Hua Qinhuan looked at his wife's smile and suddenly felt a chill down his spine for some reason. He felt that he might be in big trouble. Hua Beichun's crisis radar went off very quickly and decisively went up to his wife to curry favor. I heard from Uncle Zhang that you ran to the kitchen as soon as you came back. Why did you suddenly think of cooking? Su Yiyan glanced at him and thought to herself, keep pretending, keep pretending. Half an hour ago, he was still spending a lot of money in the live stream, but now he was pretending to be a little white lotus. He was as innocent as he could be. I couldn't tell that he had the talent to be an actor. When I came back, I saw the baby hiccuping and suddenly had an idea, so I decided to start the live stream. The baby hiccuped. Hua Qinhuan thought to himself, isn't the hiccuping part of the next live stream? Since she came up with the idea because of her baby hiccuping, why didn't she do it this time? Why did she leave it for the next live stream? However, a certain someone had to wear his little vest properly and couldn't just disappear. Even if he had a lot of doubts in his heart, he had to suppress them for the time being. If Su Yiyan knew what he was thinking, she would definitely reply, I'm happy to do it. Anyway, the baby can't eat these things right now. She can do whatever she wants. Uncle Zhang said that it might be because it drank the milk too quickly and was a little bloated. I just patted him and he's fine now. Hua Qinhuan nodded in response, but her eyes unconsciously drifted to the few dishes that Su Yiyan had prepared. Is everything ready? Yes. I'll take it out for you. Hua Qinhuan didn't care about Su Yiyan's reaction. She picked up the 2 dishes on the table and ran out. Su Yiyan narrowed his eyes dangerously as he looked at his fleeing figure. You ran pretty fast. I'll deal with you later. Su Yiyan made a table full of dishes. There was porridge, soup, vegetables, and desserts. However, most of the dishes were sweet. Although children liked them, adults might not. I'm counting on you for today's meal. Hua Qinhuan's hand, which was putting down the vegetables, suddenly paused. Rely on me. That's right. Our baby is only a little more than a month old. He doesn't even know how to eat complementary foods. How can he eat these? This is for the big baby. Hua Qinhuan. So, you're saying that I'm the big baby? As if she could read Hua Qinhuan's mind, Su Yiyan smiled faintly and called out, Big baby, you have to eat well today too. Pfft. Uncle Zhang, who was standing at the side to help, couldn't help but laugh when he heard Su Yiyan's words. Ever since Master and Madam passed away, this was the first time he heard someone call his young master a big baby. Hua Qinhuan was stunned. She was shy and embarrassed, and the tips of her ears turned red. Chapter 836. However, he couldn't bear to say anything harsh to his wife, so he could only silently bury his head in his mouth and silently accept his status as a big baby. Su Yiyan secretly flirted with her husband, and she felt a little better. However, it was only a little. When she thought of the gifts that a certain someone threw at others in the live stream, Su Yiyan couldn't help but feel distressed. That was Hua's money, and half of it was going to be swallowed by the platform. Although the gifts from Do Tianyi were probably not much, and they didn't make any profit or loss, Su Yiyan couldn't help but raise her head and look at Hua Qinhuan plaintively. Hua Qinhuan had just finished a small bowl of lily beer and pear lotus root soup when she raised her head and met Su Yiyan's subtle gaze. He had already eaten, so why did he still have such an expression? Hua Qinhuan frowned slightly and asked tentatively, Are you in a bad mood? Yeah. Who made you unhappy? Su Yiyan stared at Hua Qinhuan for a long time before she said faintly, when I was streaming just now, two spendthrifts were fighting in my live stream. They made my live stream a little messy, so I'm a little angry. Hua Qinhuan almost choked on her porridge. Spendthrifts? She wasn't talking about him, right? It's the viewers who are watching my live stream. I don't know what's going on, but they suddenly started sending gifts to my live stream. Isn't it good to send gifts? It's not that it's bad, but everything has to be done in moderation. Going too far is as bad as not going far enough. Usually, when they send 1 or 2 gifts, I'll know that they're watching my live stream and supporting me, and I'll be quite happy. But today, purely out of a moment's anger, they sent special effects flying all over the screen. My viewers' comments were all covered up by them, and my live stream was also blocked by them. It felt like the fruits of my labor weren't being respected. Furthermore, we should still moderate our spending. They spent so much money in my live broadcast room. Even if they don't feel anything, won't their families have any opinions? Hua Qinhuan met Su Yiyan's gaze. For some reason, she suddenly felt a little guilty. Perhaps, to them, this is just a small amount of money, not worth mentioning. Hua Qinhuan didn't think that she was a fool for spending so much money on the live stream. After all, the ID of that account was obviously related to Do Tianyi. Not only did he go around looking for people to investigate his wife, but he also went to his wife's live broadcast room and wanted to spend money to kick him down from the top of the leaderboard and replace him. The ambition of a wolf could not be clearer. If he didn't go against this scheming fellow, was he supposed to watch helplessly as this dove took over his magpie's nest, occupied his position, and snatched his wife? Why didn't they ban Do Tianyi's account? By banning his account at this time, wouldn't it be telling everyone that his financial resources were not as good as his and that he was so guilty that he could only resort to dirty tricks? It's just money, who's afraid of who? Anyway, this money would eventually go back to his pocket. As the big boss, he was sacrificing himself to generate revenue for the website. Oh. When Su Yiyan heard what he said, she could not help but glance at Hua Qinhuan faintly. She thought to herself, to put it bluntly, I gave him too much pocket money. Tens of millions is just a small amount to him. Wu Jinyao, who was completely unaware that his pocket money was about to decrease, instinctively felt a trace of danger and tried to save himself. Then, his gaze fell on the stir-fried lamb liver with chives. His eyes flickered. This dish. Chapter 837. Su Yiyan glanced at the dish quizzically. She frowned and asked, "What's wrong? You don't like the taste?" "No." Hua Qinhuan shook her head. She picked up the chives on the plate and smiled. "I remember you saying that this dish has another name. It's called..." Su Yiyan was stunned. Her face turned red. Chives did have another name. It was called aphrodisiac. From the name, it was obvious that it had a well-known use. "So, you can't wait any longer. When you were discharged, the doctor specifically said that even though you have already completed your confinement, you still need to rest for 2 to 3 months to fully recover. Why don't we wait a little longer?" Su Yiyan. You make it sound like I'm desperate. Go to hell, you scumbag. I'll be a dog if I talk to you again. The quick-witted president Hua successfully diverted his wife's attention from the pocket money. The price he paid was that they had to sleep separately for another month. The reason he gave was, since you think I can't wait any longer, but my body isn't in the right condition to do this, then let's sleep separately. Otherwise, I won't be able to wait any longer. Hua Qinhuan, who had shot himself in the foot. I suspect that my wife is targeting me, and I have evidence. Su Yiyan originally thought that when she asked Xia Junxing to explicitly reject the collaboration with Hai-E Entertainment, they would understand her attitude and back off. However, she had underestimated the importance Do Tianyi attached to this collaboration. The next day, Su Yiyan had just entered the company when Xia Junqing ran over with a serious expression. "What did you say?" "Do Tianyi came to our company." "Yes, President Do and his special assistant from High E Entertainment are waiting downstairs. Do you want to meet them or get someone to kick them out?" "Kick them out." Su Yiyan's mouth twitched. "Aren't you afraid that as soon as you kick them out, they'll contact the media and put the blame on our company? Even if we don't kick them out, they can still put the blame on us." This had nothing to do with whether or not they were going to chase him away. The main thing was that this person had come to them for what purpose. "Su Yiyan. You make so much sense that I have nothing to say." Xia Junqing seemed to notice Su Yiyan's rejection of Haiyi's President Do, so he comforted her. "If you really don't want to see them, why don't you let me send them away?" "Don't worry, I definitely won't let them have anything on me." After Xia Junqing finished speaking, he saw that Su Yiyan did not object. He took it as Su Yiyan's acquiescence and turned to leave. "Wait." Xia Junqing paused and turned to look at her in confusion. "You can hide for a while, but you can't hide forever. Let them come up, I will meet him personally." Xia Junqing was silent for a moment before replying, "All right, I'll arrange it right away. However, please allow me to receive them as well." Su Yiyan knew that he was worried that he would clash with Do Tianyi and wanted to watch from the side, so he did not refuse. A few minutes later, Xia Junqing brought Do Tianyi and Li Yu over. Unlike the last time they met, Do Tianyi came in a wheelchair with Li Yu pushing him from behind. He looked weak and harmless. Su Yiyan was not fooled by his appearance. She knew very well that under this harmless appearance, there was a wolf that could bite your throat out at any time. Do Tianyi smiled warmly when he saw Su Yiyan. "Miss Su, we meet again." Chapter 838. Su Yiyan's eyes flashed and she pretended to be surprised. "I didn't expect you to be the boss of High E Entertainment." "Excuse me." It sounded like a very perfunctory explanation. Everyone present knew what the truth was, but no one dared to expose this layer of window paper. Do Tianyi said with a smile, "Then what does Miss Su imagine the boss of High E Entertainment to be? An old man in his 70s or 80s with a fat brain?" Su Yiyan was speechless. If she hadn't known from the beginning that Do Tianyi was the person behind High E Entertainment, she would have thought that was the image of the boss. After all, among the CEOs she had met, there were quite a few with this image. In addition, although High E Entertainment and Dongqing Entertainment didn't have much interaction before, they were all in the same industry. The artists in High E Entertainment had a lot of tricks up their sleeves. Before Su Yiyan took over Dongqing Entertainment was just a small company. The bigger artists were fine, but the smaller artists had suffered a lot under High Yi's artists. Su Yiyan couldn't possibly have a good impression of this company, so naturally, she didn't have a good impression of the boss of this company. "Mr. Do, did you come all the way here just to let me see for myself how young and promising the boss of High E Entertainment is?" "Of course not." Do Tianyi could tell that Su Yiyan didn't welcome him. A complicated emotion flashed through his eyes. He went straight to the point. "I came this time to talk to Miss Su about a joint project." "A joint project?" "If I remember correctly, I've already asked someone to reject it." "Miss Su's rejection means that High E Entertainment isn't sincere enough. So I came personally to bring High E Entertainment's sincerity and my own." When Do Tianyi said this, his eyes were fixed on Su Yiyan with a gentle smile. The atmosphere in the office suddenly became subtle. Su Yiyan's face darkened, and Xia Junqing, who was standing by the side, frowned. Su Yiyan not only had a husband, but she also had a child. Was Mr. Do's words really unintentional or intentional? Xia Junqing felt that the burden on his shoulders had suddenly become much heavier. No matter what, he couldn't let this person be alone with Su Yiyan. It was really too dangerous. Su Yiyan didn't know that in Xia Junqing's eyes, Do Tianyi had already become a toad that wanted to eat swan meat. Unfortunately, she was the swan that was coveted. When she heard Do Tianyi's words, she reflexively recalled the scene of her meeting with Do Tianyi on the day of her son's one-month-old celebration. This person's attitude towards her was really very strange. It's not a matter of sincerity. I did see high sincerity in the proposal, but only. It's just that there's no point in working together. The two companies have different philosophies, so I don't think there's a need to cooperate. Different philosophies. Do Tianyi raised his eyebrows. What makes Miss Su think that the two companies have different philosophies? Is it the actions of my company's employees, or are some artists in the company blind enough to offend other artists in your company? Or is it simply because of Wen Jingping? Su Yiyan's eyes narrowed slightly. She didn't expect Do Tianyi to be so straightforward. He directly pointed out the conflicts between Hai Yi and Dong Qing and even mentioned Wen Jingping. Before Su Yiyan could react, she heard him say, "If Miss Su's philosophy is these, then this proposal can still be discussed." What? Do Tianyi looked at her deeply and smiled. "I'll solve all the problems you're worried about and give you a satisfactory answer." Chapter 839. Su Yiyan was really shocked this time. Solve. How to solve it? The first two were easy to deal with. What should be rectified, what should be frozen, but what about Wen Jingping? New male lead, wake up, that's the female lead. Even if you don't completely like her, you shouldn't use her as a condition to make a deal with the boss of a rival company. Or was it that the original work's forceful plot, and because of her rebirth as a little butterfly, now had some more heart-wrenching drama to drag her, a passerby who originally wanted to sit on the mountain and watch the tigers fight, into the water? Su Yiyan's mind was in a mess. For a moment, she didn't know how to respond to the person opposite her. Do Tianyi saw the change in Su Yiyan's expression and continued to smile. "Miss Su, what do you think of this sincerity?" Su Yiyan stared at him for a while and asked directly, "I thought that you wanted Wen Jingping to be the female lead of your company's annual drama because you wanted to promote her. You should have a good relationship with her. It's just a relationship of interest." Relationship of interest. Su Yiyan raised her eyebrows and became interested. "Then you came to me now and offered to sacrifice her. Do you think I'm more valuable than her?" Do Tianyi's smile on his face was slightly restrained, but with some hesitation. "You're not the same as her." "We're all the same." Su Yiyan interrupted him. She had calmed down a long time ago, and her gaze towards Do Tianyi was filled with indifference and mockery. "This is what I meant when I said that we have different ideologies. I admit that I do have some grudges with her, but since she has sided with you and you have accepted her, you shouldn't be using her to negotiate with me now." Do Tianyi furrowed his brows. "I accepted her because of some special reasons, but after interacting with her for a long time, I realized that everything she showed was fake. Her purpose for getting close to me wasn't that simple. Since we're using each other, why can't I use her if she can use me? Then, if one day, you find out that Dongqing and I are not as valuable as you think and can't bring you what you want, will you sell me out without any psychological burden, just like how you treated her?" Do Tianyi was stunned. Li Yu, who accompanied Do Tianyi, couldn't help but widen her eyes. It was hard to believe that someone could be so ruthless to their boss. Most importantly, their boss seemed to be more surprised than angry. This woman was really not a simple character. Do Tianyi was only stunned for a moment, and he soon heard the logical loophole in Su Yiyan's words. "I told you that you're different. She approached me with ulterior motives from the beginning. I'm not in a cooperative relationship with her. At most, I'm relying on her and using her. As for you, I'm truly sincere. But before he could finish his words, he was interrupted. In my opinion, you're all the same. It's not that I'm the same as Wen Jingping, but you're the same as her. I don't know why you're suddenly interested in me and Dongqing, and why you're trying so hard to reach this cooperation with us. But whether it's because of past grievances or the future development of the company, I don't think this cooperation will work. Su Yiyan stared at Dou Tianyi as she said this. She was just short of directly saying that Wen Jingping's purpose of getting close to you was not pure. Now that you're getting close to me, is your purpose of getting close to me pure? It's not hard to guess what you're thinking. Don't be the pot calling the kettle black. Chapter 840. After Su Yiyan finished speaking, the room fell silent again. Li Yu's forehead was already covered in a layer of cold sweat. He was afraid that the audacious Miss Su would be sacrificed to the heavens by his furious boss in the next second. However, to his disappointment, none of the unforeseen events that he had anticipated happened. Dou Tianyi looked calmly at Su Yiyan and chuckled. You're very smart. Just this point alone makes you completely different from Wen Jingping. Su Yiyan was speechless. I can take it as you. Are you indirectly mocking someone for being stupid? Since you're so smart, you should have already guessed the real reason why I went through so much trouble to look for you. No, I don't know anything. There was a saying that went, the more you know, the faster you die. She wasn't going to jump into this trap. Unfortunately, even though Su Yiyan wanted to avoid this trap, Dou Tianyi couldn't let her do as she wished and insisted on dragging her into this trap. Miss Su, or should I call you Store Manager Su, or Live Broadcaster Su? I don't know what you're talking about. Su Yiyan was already prepared and wasn't flustered by his sudden revelation. I was wondering why Mr. Dou would suddenly be interested in me, a stranger whom you've only met once. It turns out that you've mistaken me for someone else. Dou Tianyi seemed to have already expected that Su Yiyan wouldn't admit it. The smile on his face didn't change as he whispered, whether or not I've mistaken you for someone else, we both know in our hearts. Since I'm talking about this in front of Miss Su today, naturally, I already have concrete evidence to prove Miss Su's identity. Su Yiyan's face darkened slightly. Dou Tianyi's constant little tricks showed that he was suspicious of her identity. Today, he said this in front of her. Whether he really knew her identity or was lying to her, Su Yiyan knew that after today, she wouldn't be able to stay out of trouble like before. Su Yiyan sighed. So, Mr. Dou came to my territory in such an imposing manner today and said these words to me. Do you think this matter can be used as a bargaining chip to threaten me? Su Yiyan couldn't help but sneer. If that's the case, I'm afraid Mr. Dou will be disappointed. The reason why I hid my identity was because I felt that there was no need to publicize my little hobby. Now that I've been discovered, I can just make it public. It's not a shameful thing to begin with. After it's made public, it might even help me and my company gain more popularity. It's mutually beneficial and two-way development. Why not? Miss Su seems to be very hostile and prejudiced against me. Dou Tianyi sat in his wheelchair, his expression unchanged. The reason why I pointed out Miss Su's identity at this time is not to threaten Miss Su with this matter, but to ask Miss Su for help. Ask me for help. Su Yiyan's heart suddenly thumped, but she still maintained a guarded expression on her face. Mr. Dou's attitude when asking for help is really strange. Dou Tianyi didn't mind. Miss Su should be able to tell that my health isn't very good and I've been suffering from illness for many years. I went to Miss Su's medicinal cuisine restaurant once by chance and ate some food. I found that the medicinal cuisine in Miss Su's restaurant has a very significant effect on my illness. As Dou Tianyi spoke, he took a test report from Li Yu and handed it to Su Yiyan. Su Yiyan looked at the test report and the corners of her mouth twitched. Chance. You call this a chance? Do you take me for a fool? Chapter 841. Su Yiyan didn't take it. Instead, she looked at Do Tianyi, raised her eyebrows, and chuckled. Mr. Do, you've done so much just to ask me to make a few meals of medicinal cuisine to improve your condition. It's not to improve my condition. It's not to improve my condition. It's to cure it. Su Yiyan's face sank, as if she had heard the funniest joke in the world. Mr. Do, you must be joking. Not to mention that I don't have much interaction with Mr. Do, and I haven't agreed to help you. Even if I really help you, I can't give you such an unrealistic guarantee. You must know that even the most respected doctor can't guarantee that he can cure any disease. Do Tianyi didn't argue with her about this, but talked about another matter. I heard that Miss Su's husband was paralyzed for nearly 10 years because of an accident. The word paralyzed really poked Su Yiyan's reverse scale, and her face instantly turned black. Do Tianyi acted as if he didn't see anything and continued, but about a year ago, he recovered, and he recovered very well, without any sequelae. My husband hasn't given up on treatment all these years, and he will recover very well. Su Yiyan wanted to push the credit of Hu Qinhuan's recovery to the doctors who had been treating Hu Qinhuan all these years. Do Tianyi couldn't let her have her way. Just like Miss Su said, some diseases can't be cured just because a doctor said so. The reason why the disease is not good is because the technology is not mature. Medical science is constantly improving, and what can't be cured in the past doesn't mean that it can't be cured in the future. According to Miss Su's words, my illness will be cured sooner or later, won't it? Su Yiyan gave him a perfunctory fake smile. You also said that there will be a day sooner or later. Who can say whether it will be early or late? Anyway, I can't say for sure. In another few hundred years, perhaps a blood disease like Do Tianyi's could really be cured. Just like cancer, which was once thought to be incurable, wasn't there already a special medicine developed? It's just that other people have to research for a few hundred years. Can you live for a few hundred years? If you had that much time, you wouldn't even know how many lifetimes you'd have reincarnated. Why would you care if you could cure your illness in this lifetime? When Do Tianyi heard her words, the light in his eyes dimmed a lot, but it quickly returned to normal, as if he was already used to such disappointment. I know it's a bit difficult, but I hope that Miss Su can help me, whether it's to alleviate my illness or to cure it one day in the future. Do Tianyi hated the feeling of putting his life in the hands of others. But sometimes, fate loved to play tricks on people. The things that you were most afraid of and hated the most were often the things that you couldn't avoid. In the end, you could only helplessly compromise. In exchange, I'm willing to do my best and pay any price that you need or want. Su Yiyan wasn't tempted by the promise he gave. She frowned and said, I just said that the reason why Qinhuan could recover was because he had been receiving treatment all these years. The doctors around him. Before Su Yiyan could finish, Do Tianyi had already interrupted her. If what Miss Su said is true, after Miss Su's husband recovered, why are these people still unknown? A disability that was once determined to be impossible to recover was completely cured without any sequelae. Just this point alone is enough to make patients and their families, who have lower limbs paralyzed and thought that they had no hope for the rest of their lives, scramble like ducks. But in fact, there isn't. Chapter 842. Su Yiyan's expression changed again. This person really came prepared today. Every word he said made her speechless. He told her that he knew everything about the two of them and that all her lies and excuses were useless against him. No matter what you say today, the result will not change. Su Yiyan gritted her teeth in anger. She felt powerless when the right to speak was in the hands of the other party. Perhaps our first impression of each other is not very good. But now, and even in the future, I hope that we can become friends, not friends who use each other as tools or partners. I don't think we can be friends. Su Yiyan did not have many friends, but it was not like she did not have any. Someone like Do Tianyi, who seemed to be sincere in befriending her, was actually high and mighty from the beginning to the end. He talked about befriending her as if it was a transaction. Su Yiyan knew that she could not afford to be friends with him. Do Tianyi's expression did not change. He only looked at Su Yiyan with a smile. It's always better to have one more friend than one more enemy. Believe me, whether it's you or your husband, you don't want to have an enemy like me. Su Yiyan was stunned. Her eyes suddenly turned cold. Are you threatening me? A wolf will always be a wolf. It will never turn into a dog, let alone a cat. Even if it was wearing sheep's skin, it would sooner or later show its claws and mercilessly tear you to pieces. I'm just stating the facts. After all, there's nothing a person can't do when they're about to die. Compared to me, a lonely person with chronic illness, Miss Su should have more concerns in this world than I do. As the saying goes, a barefooted person is not afraid of wearing shoes. If it really came to this point, who knew what he would do? This was also one of the main reasons why some people who were diagnosed with terminal illnesses and had a twisted mentality suddenly came to the newspaper. I'm about to die, so why are you still living so well? Since that's the case, let's all die together. If I can drag a few people down with me, it's my gain. It was because of this extremely twisted mentality that so many tragedies were caused. It made people realize how terrible this kind of person was. At that moment, Su Yiyan's anger finally reached its peak. This man, how dare he? How dare he use her family as a threat, how dare he? Do Tianyi saw the anger in Su Yiyan's eyes. The corners of his lips curled up slightly, but he did not continue to be aggressive. I hope that Miss Su will consider what I just said. It's getting late, so I won't continue to disturb Miss Su's work. Do Tianyi said as he gave Li Yu a look. Li Yu immediately understood and stepped forward to hand over a business card. This is my business card. If Miss Su changes her mind, you can contact me at any time. Of course, if time passes, I will come back to look for Miss Su again. There will be plenty of time in the future. Su Yiyan's face darkened again. He could not wait to throw the name card at Do Tianyi's face. Do Tianyi saw Su Yiyan's anger, but the corners of his lips curled up slightly. It was as if he was certain that Su Yiyan would give in one day and contact him on her own accord. When Li Yu pushed Do Tianyi out of Su Yiyan's office, he suddenly stopped. Immediately, Su Yiyan heard someone's calm and sorrowful whisper. I just want to live. Su Yiyan's hand subconsciously clenched. Yes, who would want to die if they could live? But what if the person who wanted to live was implicated in the life and death of the people around him? Would he be indifferent to the matter, or would he be a saint who would risk the danger of a backlash in the future to save the person first? Chapter 843. Live. Su Yiyan sneered and mocked himself. Who doesn't want to live? But no matter how much you want to live, you shouldn't trample on others. In his previous life, when Jinping was like that, and now, Do Tianyi was like that too. Thinking of this, Su Yiyan's gaze turned cold and gloomy, and his heart hardened. Boss, why do you have to do this? Li Yu pushed Do Tianyi out of Dongqing. As soon as he got into the car, he couldn't help but complain. Miss Su didn't have a good impression of you to begin with. After today's incident, I'm afraid she wants to kill you. Do Tianyi was sitting in the back seat with his eyes closed. When he heard this, he opened his eyes and smiled. If I didn't cause trouble today, would she have a good impression of me? Li Yu choked. In his opinion, his boss's attitude towards Su Yiyan was already very good. Unfortunately, first impressions were not something that could be easily changed. Do Tianyi couldn't be gentle, so he decided to use force. Liu wiped the cold sweat off his head and tried to persuade him. Even if Miss Su doesn't listen to force or persuasion, you're still asking for help. Wouldn't this be too? You still want to rely on her to treat your illness. What if she's upset and does something to you during your treatment? If that's the case, I'll have to ask you to help me take revenge. Do Tianyi didn't care. It's already not easy for my rotten life to last until now. When I die, I'll drag a few more people down with me. That way, I won't be too lonely. Liu didn't know why, but he suddenly felt goosebumps all over his body. His intuition told him that Do Tianyi wasn't joking. Ahahaha, boss, you really know how to joke. Do Tianyi didn't expose him. He closed his eyes again and said faintly, "It's not my style to speak nicely and beg humbly. As the saying goes, try peaceful means before resorting to force." He had already given Su Yiyan a gift. If Su Yiyan did not accept it, then he had a reason to use force. Compared to compromising, he preferred to hide a dagger behind a smile and seize by force. As soon as Do Tianyi stepped out of Su Yiyan's company, everything that happened in Su Yiyan's office reached Su Yuxuan and Hu Chenhuan's ears. At that time, there were only 4 people in the office. It went without saying who spread the news. Su Yuxuan's face darkened when he found out about this, but he didn't rush to find trouble with Do Tianyi. Instead, he asked Xia Junxing to report this matter to Hu Chenhuan. In his own words, when Yan Yan was at home, he and his father were there to protect her. Now that she was married, her husband had to make the first move. Otherwise, wouldn't his sister's marriage be in vain? Xia Junxing listened to Su Yuxuan's sour complaints and had a hard time holding back his laughter. In the end, he still revealed this matter to Hu Chenhuan. However, he made some adjustments and only conveyed the words Do Tianyi said to Su Yiyan. He didn't mention Do Tianyi's meaningful and ambiguous tone when they spoke. Even so, Hu Chenhuan's face still darkened after hearing about this matter. Threatening Yan Yan with the safety of his family. How arrogant. Cui Yanbai stood on the side. He still had a smile on his face, but his eyes were terrifyingly cold. Maybe it's because Mr. Do doesn't have any relatives at home. He has enough to eat and the whole family doesn't have to go hungry. That's why he's so fearless and eager to do whatever he wants. Hu Chenhuan sneered and said gloomily, "You said that there are still people in the collateral branch of the Do family alive." Chapter 844. Well, at that time, the Do family fought for power and made a lot of noise. Most of the people involved are no longer alive. Only the 2 sons of Do Tianyi's uncle were studying abroad at that time. They were not in the country and escaped the disaster. I remember that when the Do family changed dynasties, the one who fought with Do Tianyi the most was his uncle. Yes, Do Tianyi's uncle and Do Tianyi's father are from different branches. They are not close in terms of blood relationship. It is said that the only bloodline of the Do family's old master died early due to illness. He had no choice but to choose an heir from the side branch. At that time, the most promising candidates were Do Tianyi's father and his uncle. Hu Chenhuan raised her eyebrows. So, Do Tianyi is not considered the main branch's bloodline. The Do family does not pay special attention to this aspect. Compared to bloodline, they prefer those who are capable. Those who are capable? Hu Chenhuan's eyes flashed slightly. No wonder every time the power of the Do family overlapped, there was bound to be a storm of blood. Was it those who were capable or the method of raising poisonous insects to choose the sharpest knife? Do Tianyi's uncle is dead. Yes. How did he die? It is said that he was robbed and had a dispute with the robbers. He was stabbed several times. One of the stabs hit a vital point and he died on the spot. Is it related to Do Tianyi? For the time being, there is no definite evidence to prove that this matter is related to him. But at that time, the Do family had internal strife. Those who opposed Do Tianyi almost all died one after another. Except for one who became a vegetable, most of the others are almost dead. Hua Qinhuan's eyes flashed slightly. What does it matter if there is evidence or not? What matters is what the two surviving young masters of the Do family think. Some things, everyone's heart was like a mirror, so it did not matter whether there was evidence or not. How was the relationship between the two of them and the deceased Do clan's uncle? The relationship between father and son is naturally not bad. If it was really bad, he wouldn't have spent so much effort to send him abroad first. He said that he was going to study abroad, but who knew if it was all part of his plan from the very beginning? It would be best if he succeeded in seizing power, but if he failed, he could at least leave a bloodline for himself and wait for a comeback in the future. How are their abilities? If they were just two idiots, then so be it. Even if they came back, they would only be serving Do Tianyi's head. They wouldn't be of much use. Between the two of them, the elder brother is somewhat intelligent, and the younger brother is not stupid. The two of them have always wanted to come back, but due to Do Tianyi's influence in the country, they did not dare to act rashly. In other words, they could be used. There's no need to really defeat him. It's enough to disgust him. Compared to getting someone else to do the dirty work, Hua Qinhuan would rather do it herself. Asking these two people to come out was just to give him an appetizer. Su Yiyan, who had no idea that she had replaced Wen Jingping's role in Do Tianyi, became the fuse that caused the tit-for-tat between her husband and the original villain, now the new male lead, was not in a good mood. Do Tianyi's sudden appearance caught her off guard. But the previous few encounters allowed Su Yiyan to be mentally prepared. She knew that she would meet him sooner or later. At first, she tried to shift the topic to Wen Jingping and attribute everything to the personal grudges between her and Wen Jingping. She just wanted to buy more time. However, Do Tianyi seemed to really not care about Wen Jingping at all. He was not interested in their grudges at all. As a result, before she could say anything, she died in her womb. Chapter 845. System: What's going on with Wen Jingping and Do Tianyi? Isn't he the new male lead that Wen Jingping carefully selected as a spare tire? Why isn't he licking Wen Jingping's boots, living and dying for her, smashing walls for her without any complaints? Why is he causing trouble for me all the time? He even said that he could help me deal with Wen Jingping. Is he trying to trick me or is he serious? Are you sure this Do Tianyi is really the new male lead? After the systems inspection, Do Tianyi is indeed the new male lead that the female lead in this world has chosen for the second time. Then what's going on with him and Wen Jingping? Isn't the male lead in this world unconsciously led by the female lead, and his EQ and IQ would drop for no reason? Just like the previous Hu Xiaofeng, he was obviously proud and arrogant. He didn't even like Su Yiyan, who grew up pampered and received a good education from a rich family, let alone an ugly duckling like Wen Jingping, who was inferior to Su Yiyan in every way. However, it was as if he was possessed and stubbornly treated her as a priceless treasure. No matter how many tricks Wen Jingping used and how much trouble she brought him, he still enjoyed it like a diligent bootlicker. If Wen Jingping hadn't seen that Hu Xiaofeng had been kicked out of the Hu Corporation and had no hope of becoming a cuckold, he might have been led by the nose for a long time. But I think Do Tianyi doesn't seem to be affected. Although he spent money on Wen Jingping to get the resources of a big IP female lead, he wasn't actually fascinated by Wen Jingping's female lead halo. He listened to her every word and seemed normal. No, from the fact that he could easily bring out Wen Jingping to negotiate with her, this person was very abnormal. The host's progress in stealing the female lead halo has reached 50%, causing the female lead halo's influence on the male lead to greatly decrease. Moreover, the host has various skills provided by the system, under certain conditions, overriding the original female lead's golden fingers. The familiar mechanical voice faintly carried a hint of pride at the end, as if to say, "Look, I've provided you with all these good things, who knows how many times better than the original female lead's half-baked golden fingers. Isn't it normal for the new male lead to give up on the original female lead and look for you to treat his illness? Who would be willing to give up a 5-star luxurious meal and run to torture himself by eating leftovers?" After listening to the system's explanation, Su Yiyan felt that it made a bit of sense. However, her focus wasn't on this, but, "System, I've found that you've become more and more human." After that, the system on the system on it, on the system on the robot. The system. The system. The system, the system. The system, you. The. If you're talking about those hua aprons on the little robots, please forgive me for rejecting. Su Yiyan waited for a while, but the system didn't reply. She sighed in disappointment and stopped teasing it. Instead, she asked another question seriously. "System, if Chen Huan and I hadn't increased the progress of stealing the golden fingers, would Do Tianyi's illness one day?" The system was silent for a while before giving a thoughtful answer. According to the setting of the original novel, the villain Do Tianyi's blood disease can only be alleviated, but not cured. Hearing this, Su Yiyan's mind flashed. In the original novel, Do Tianyi was the villain, so naturally, it was impossible for him to be cured of this disease. However, he was now the world's new male lead, with the male lead halo above his head. It was impossible for him to be mentioned in the same breath as the original novel. Chapter 846. Su Yiyan pondered for a moment, then continued to ask, "Can these things that I have on hand cure him?" "No." "Then how did he?" The system fell silent again. Su Yiyan waited for a while, but she did not get an answer. "System. Do Tianyi is the world's male lead, so he has the same luck as the world's female lead. Moreover, because he hasn't had a large number of gold fingers snatched away like the world's female lead, his luck is slightly stronger." At this point, the system paused for a moment, as if it was thinking about how to explain the situation. Su Yiyan noticed this, and her eyes narrowed. She could actually feel that the system could not explain everything to her. Most of the time, the system could only tell her certain things through hints, as if it was restricted by something. The host can snatch the gold fingers of the male and female lead, and use them to change your own fate, and vice versa. Su Yiyan's eyes narrowed. After she understood the system's meaning, she could not help but swear on the spot. She knew that things were not that simple. So this was what the system was waiting for. Su Yiyan had previously discovered that a large part of the so-called snatching gold fingers was to save the supporting male and female leads who had been used as stepping stones by the male and female lead after their blood had been sucked dry, so as to reduce the public impact that the male and female lead had on this world. These supporting male and female leads could have had beautiful families and limitless futures, but because they had been targeted, not only had they become paper people to be used, but they had also been trampled under their feet, and their families had been ruined. Now that she heard the system say this, good heavens! What did it mean to have the world's luck? What did it mean to be different from ordinary people? They were clearly snatching the luck of others and superimposing it on themselves, bringing endless benefits to themselves. They didn't forget to get rid of the donkey after it had outlived its usefulness and killed the person who had no value to them, so as to prevent these people from rising from the ashes and snatching the luck back from them. Su Yiyan took a deep breath, her expression extremely ugly. This should be considered a bug in the world. It's clearly a terminal illness, but just because he's the male lead, there's hope of recovery. This. Host, don't forget that the world you're in is originally a book. Some epics and dramas could not be guaranteed to be perfect, not to mention that the foundation of this world came from a cliched Mary Sue romance novel. It would be strange if there were no bugs. Moreover, the world will automatically fix the bugs. A large part of the male lead's recovery will be attributed to good luck, a successful operation with an extremely low success rate. Or someone suddenly had a flash of inspiration and developed a special medicine for this disease, but the raw materials for this type of medicine are rare, it can't be popularized, and so on. Su Yin's expression was subtle. The reason given by the system was really hard to refute. There was no lack of miracles in the history of medicine. There were many reports that people who were diagnosed with terminal illnesses and had a maximum lifespan of 1 or 2 years had lived for 5 or even 10 years because of their good attitude. Hu Qinhuan's legs were originally diagnosed as impossible to recover, but after he stood up again, how many people would think about the metaphysical factors involved? They would only sigh at his good luck, meeting a good doctor who created a miracle. Some people even suspected that his legs were not as serious as the rumors said, and that everything was just a smokescreen. People would always subconsciously believe what they saw, and find good reasons for it. The so-called bug was only a bug in the eyes of insiders like her. In the eyes of others, it was just a miracle that could not be explained with common sense. Chapter 847. Receiving Su Yin's praise, little Yuan Yuan blushed and said shyly, "Protecting the little master is what Yuan Yuan should do." Dun Dun on the side saw that Su Yin praised Yuan Yuan but not itself, and seemed to be a little dissatisfied. It ran to Su Yin's feet and circled around. Silly Boy followed behind the dog father and also circled around Su Yin. The father and son circled around for a long time and found that Su Yin did not respond at all. They couldn't help but go forward and rub Su Yin's calf. Only then did Su Yin notice Dun Dun and mistakenly thought that it was concerned about Zai Zai. She quickly hugged the baby and leaned over to comfort it. "Dun Dun, do you want to see the baby?" "Don't worry, the baby is fine." Dun Dun barked twice and sat on Su Yin's right foot unhappily. Silly girl followed suit. She walked to Su Yin's left foot and sat down. Su Yin, who had 2 dogs on her feet, ahem. Uncle Zhang saw this scene and coughed lightly. He smiled faintly and said, "They may have felt angry that they had helped just now, but young madam only praised Yuan Yuan and not them." Su Yin was surprised. They also helped. After Yuan Yuan chased after them, she snatched the young master back from this woman. These 2 followed behind Yuan Yuan, and when they saw this woman still wanted to come over to snatch the child, they bit her. Where did they bite? Ahem. Uncle Zhang's old face was slightly red and he did not answer. Instead, it was a young girl on the side who held back her laughter and interrupted, "The place with the most meat." These 2 little guys bit so fiercely that they almost pulled people's pants off. Su Yin, Hu Qinhuan, this trick was a little familiar. Woof. Dun Dun seemed to know that someone was mentioning its heroic appearance. It raised its head proudly and barked twice, its wet dog eyes full of praise. The corner of Su Yin's mouth twitched slightly. She thought to herself that she did not know what was wrong with this dog of hers. It especially liked to bite the place with the most meat. However, considering that the 2 dogs had indeed made a contribution this time, Su Yin was still generous with her praise. Dun Dun and Silly Boy also did a good job and protected the baby. Dun Dun stood up with a rustle and shook its tail like a propeller. Little Dun even patted Su Yin's calf and snorted, showing its mouth full of small steel teeth. It seemed to be saying, "Humph. Don't you see who's protecting this little cub? How dare she steal their cub? It's good enough that she didn't bite her to death." Silly Boy did not think so much. She stuck out her tongue and stared at her dog father, nodding from time to time to show her agreement. Su Yin looked at the 2 silly boys and really could not bear to look at them, so she could only put her attention back on Yuan Yuan. How did Yuan Yuan know that this bad guy was going to steal her brother away? Because of the surveillance. Surveillance? Hua Qinhuan's eyes flickered slightly, and he explained to her, Yuan Yuan is a family protection robot. It can analyze whether the other party will hurt the owner from the surveillance images and the behavior of people, and then react accordingly. Su Yiyan was slightly stunned. Only then did she remember that ever since Yuan Yuan entered their house, every corner of the house had been installed with surveillance cameras. At that time, she thought that it was nothing, but now it seemed that it was because Yuan Yuan was only focused on the construction of the courtyard at that time, and there was no one in the house to cause trouble, so there was no place for her to use her talents. Now that there was a baby in the house, and there was such a scheming traitor, the role of these little things was immediately revealed. Chapter 848. Yen Yen. Hua Qinhuan had also rushed back after receiving the call. As soon as she got out of the car, she ran into Su Yiyan, whose legs had turned to jelly. She rushed over to support Su Yiyan before she fell. Baby, baby. Su Yiyan's face was as white as a sheet. She did not dare to think about what she would do if something really happened to the child. It's okay, it's okay. The child is fine. Uncle Zhang and the others found out early. The child is not injured. Really? Su Yiyan's eyes widened. She grabbed Hua Qinhuan's hand as if she was holding on to her only life-saving straw. She was panicked and pitiful. Seeing her like this, Hua Qinhuan's anger rose to the peak. She hugged Su Yiyan tightly and comforted her gently. Of course it's true. I've confirmed it with Uncle Zhang. The child is fine. He's fine. Nothing happened to him. Su Yiyan definitely believed Hua Qinhuan. But at this time, if she did not see the child with her own eyes and confirm that he was safe, it would be futile no matter what others said. Hua Qinhuan naturally understood this point. As she spoke, she carried the child and rushed inside. Because of what had just happened, the atmosphere in the house was unusually solemn. When Su Yiyan and Su Yiyan entered the hall, they immediately saw the family servants and security guards gathered in the hall. In the middle of them, a female servant in her early 40s was tied up with rope. She sat on the ground with her head slightly lowered, looking dispirited. The little Zai Zai, who had almost been stolen, was in Uncle Zhang's arms. His big eyes were rolling around, completely unaware of what had happened to him not long ago. Su Yiyan's eyes were full of Zai Zai. When she saw the child, she immediately rushed over. Young madam. When Uncle Zhang saw Su Yiyan coming over, he immediately let go of the child in his arms. When the little boy saw his mother, he happily waved his chubby little arms and giggled. Su Yiyan hugged him and carefully checked him from head to toe. After making sure that he was really okay, she finally felt relieved. She lowered her head and rubbed Zai Zai's chubby face. She complained softly, "You little brat, you really scared your mother to death." Hua Qinhuan had followed Su Yiyan all the way here. Now, she was standing beside Su Yiyan. Looking at the smiling faces of the mother and son, her heart softened a lot. But that didn't mean that he had forgotten the anger he felt when he first received the call and learned that his son had almost been stolen. What the hell is going on? Hua Qinhuan's sharp gaze swept across the maid on the ground. If looks could kill, she would not have had the chance to speak at all. This maid could be considered as an old member of the family Hua. She knew how powerful Hua Qinhuan was. Being stared at by him like this, the cold sweat on her forehead became more severe. Her lips trembled slightly, and she couldn't speak for a long time. When Uncle Zhang saw this, his face sank. He stepped forward and explained to the two of them, "Young master, it's like this. It turned out that about an hour ago, after the nanny fed the little boy milk and coaxed him to sleep, she suddenly received a courier call and went out for a while. In less than 10 minutes, the maid sitting on the ground sneaked into the baby's room and carried out the baby who was still sleeping soundly. If Yuan hadn't reacted in time and snatched the child back before this woman carried the young master out of the door, the consequences would have been unimaginable. When Uncle Zhang said this, Su Yiyan and Hu Qinhuan were both stunned. They subconsciously turned to look at Yuan, who was wearing a pink apron. Su Yiyan was the first to react. She freed a hand and patted Yuan's little head. She praised, so it was Yuan who snatched little brother back. That's great. Chapter 849. Receiving Su Yiyan's praise, little Yuan blushed and said shyly, protecting the little master is what Yuan should do. Dun Dun, who was at the side, saw that Su Yiyan praised Yuan but did not praise it. It seemed to be a little dissatisfied and ran around Su Yiyan's feet. It followed behind the dog daddy and also circled around Su Yiyan. The father and son circled Su Yiyan for a long time and realized that Su Yiyan had no reaction at all. They couldn't help but move forward and nudge Su Yiyan's calf. Su Yiyan only noticed Dun Dun now and mistakenly thought that he was concerned about the baby. She quickly hugged the baby and leaned over to comfort him. Dun Dun, do you want to see the baby? Don't worry, the baby is fine. Dun Dun barked twice and sat on Su Yiyan's right foot unhappily. Following suit, Dun Dun walked to Su Yiyan's left foot and sat down as well. Su Yiyan, who had 2 dogs on her feet, was speechless. Ahem. Uncle Zhang saw this scene and coughed softly. He smiled faintly and said, they might be angry that young mistress only praised Yuan and not them when they helped just now. Su Yiyan was surprised. They helped too. After Yuan chased after her, she took the little master back from this woman. These 2 followed behind Yuan. When they saw that this woman wanted to take the child back, they bit her. Where did they bite? Ahem. Uncle Zhang blushed and didn't answer. However, a young girl on the side held back her laughter and said, it was the place with the most meat. These 2 little guys bit so fiercely that they almost pulled her pants off. Su Yiyan was speechless. Hu Qinhuan was speechless. This trick was a little familiar. Woof. Dun Dun seemed to know that someone was talking about its heroic appearance. It raised its head proudly and barked twice, its watery eyes full of praise. The corner of Su Yiyan's mouth twitched slightly. He thought to himself, I don't know what's wrong with my dog. It only likes to bite the places with the most human flesh. However, considering that the 2 dogs did make a contribution this time, Su Yiyan was not stingy with his praise. Dun Dun and Silly also did a good job protecting the babies. Dun Dun stood up and wagged its tail like a propeller. Little Giorgio even patted Su Yiyan's calf and showed its mouth full of steel teeth. It was as if he was saying, "Humph, don't you know who's protecting the little brat? She dared to steal their little brat. It's good enough that they didn't bite her to death." Silly girl, on the other hand, didn't think too much about it. She stuck out her tongue and stared at her dog father, nodding her head from time to show her agreement. Su Yiyan looked at the 2 silly girls and couldn't bear to look at them directly. She had to focus her attention back on Yuan. How did Yuan know that this bad guy was going to steal my brother? Because of the surveillance. Surveillance? Hu Qinhuan's eyes flashed slightly, and he explained to her, Yuan is a family protection robot. It can analyze whether the other party will hurt the owner from the images and character behavior in the surveillance and react accordingly. Su Yiyan was slightly startled. Only then did she remember that since Yuan entered their house, every corner of the house had been installed with surveillance. At that time, she felt that there was something wrong. Now it seemed that it was because Yuan Yuan was only focused on the construction of the courtyard at that time, and there was no one in the house to cause trouble. Now that there was a baby in the house, and there was such a wicked thief, the role of these little things was suddenly shown. Chapter 850. Su Yiyen was both scared and relieved. He coldly glanced at the woman on the ground, lowered his head, and couldn't help but rub Zai Zai's chubby face. After making Zai Zai giggle, he reluctantly handed the child to Yuan Yuan and said, "Yuan Yuan, be good. Take your brother upstairs with Dun Dun and the others. When master and father have settled this matter, we'll go up to find you." Yuan Yuan received the order and immediately took the child upstairs. Su Yiyen watched the little ones leave until they were out of sight. After confirming that they wouldn't disturb the child, his eyes fell on the culprit. "What else do you have to explain?" I. The woman's eyes wandered, and her face was full of guilt. "Why did you do that?" The sudden angry shout scared the woman, and she said with a trembling voice, I just saw that the young master was bored in the room, so I wanted to take him out for a walk to get some fresh air and some sun. I really didn't want to steal the child. I was wronged. Bored in the room. Get some fresh air." Su Yiyen sneered. "Do you think all of us here are fools? Bringing a sleeping child out to bask in the sun, do you want to give him some fresh air or do you want to burn him to death? Even if the baby was really bored in the room, you could have told Uncle Zhang and the nanny to take the baby out for a walk in the yard. Who allowed you to secretly take the initiative to touch him when the nanny wasn't around? And who gave you the right to take him out alone?" Every time Su Yiyen said a sentence, she took a step forward, and the woman subconsciously moved back in her tied-up position. In the end, she had nowhere to retreat and bumped into the edge of the sofa behind her. Trembling, she said, "I'm telling the truth. I really didn't have any other intentions. I just wanted to take the young master out for a walk. But I didn't think so much. It was indeed a little thoughtless, but I really didn't have any bad intentions. Young madam, I was wrong. I really know I was wrong. Please forgive me this time. I promise I won't do it again. Again. This kind of thing once is scary enough. Do you still want to have a second time?" Su Yiyen was too lazy to talk nonsense with her. "Uncle Zhang, call the police. Since she doesn't want to talk about it here, we'll talk about it in the police station." "Yes, young madam." Uncle Zhang turned around to make the call. The woman's expression changed slightly, and she panicked. "No, don't call the police, don't call the police. If you didn't do anything wrong, why are you worried about calling the police?" Su Yiyen saw her panicked look. "You said that you just wanted to take the child out to bask in the sun. There are so many pairs of eyes in the house, including surveillance cameras, that can prove that you want to steal the child. Everyone had their reasons. The best way was to call the police and let an impartial person investigate and judge." "Uncle Zhang, call the police." "No, don't." The woman fell to the ground and struggled to move towards Su Yiyen. Su Yiyen looked at her condescendingly. He didn't feel sorry for her at all. His tone became colder and colder. "I'll give you one last chance. Tell me the truth, why did you steal my child?" The woman trembled and lowered her head. Her face showed that she was struggling. Su Yiyen didn't have that much time to waste with her. "Uncle Zhang. I'll talk." The woman screamed and looked up at the people around her who were looking at her coldly. Knowing that she couldn't escape today, she gritted her teeth and said, "I didn't want to steal the child. Someone asked me to help take the child out. He said that as long as I brought the child out to him, he would give me a sum of money. Chapter 851. Su Yiyan and Hu Qinhuan looked at each other. They were not surprised. It was impossible for them to believe that there was nothing fishy about a family thief helping to steal a child. However, compared to the person in front of them who had suddenly done all this stupidly, Su Yiyan and Uncle Qiao were obviously more willing to believe that there was a shady mastermind behind her who was manipulating all of this. Who is it? The female servant looked up and met Hu Qinhuan's extremely cold eyes. She shivered and whispered, It's the eldest young master. The eldest young master was what the old servants in the old mansion who had been working at Hu Qinhuan's parents had called Hu Qihan. Even after Hu Qinhuan's parents had passed away and Hu Qinhuan had taken over the old mansion and parted ways with Hu Qihan, they had not changed the way they addressed him. This answer was unexpected for Su Yiyan and Hu Qinhuan, but it was also reasonable. What did he ask you to do? He asked me to find an opportunity to secretly take the young master out and hand him over to him. As long as I can do this, he will give you money. Yes. How much? 5 million. Su Yiyan sneered. Hu Qihan, you bought my son for only 5 million yuan. Hu Qihan really made a good deal. When Uncle Zhang and the others heard Su Yiyan's words, they looked at the woman with disdain and disappointment. Most of the people who could stay in the old mansion had worked in the family Hua since Hu Qinhuan's parents' generation. Most of these people had received favors from Hu Qinhuan's parents. Even during Hu Qinhuan's most difficult period, she had never mistreated them. Therefore, most of them were very loyal and would not cause any trouble under normal circumstances. In their eyes, people like this woman, who would sell their masters for a little money, were no different from traitors. Not to mention that her target was the little young master whom they looked at like the apple of their eye. She was simply insane. The woman met everyone's wary gazes and panicked. She begged for mercy in a loud voice, "Young master, young madam, I really had no choice but to do such a wicked thing. My son gambled and owed a huge debt. If he didn't pay it back, those people would chop off his fingers and beat him to death. My husband died early and left me with this son. I really can't watch him get beaten to death." The woman's face was covered in tears and snot. She cried pitifully. Coincidentally, the eldest young master found me and asked me to help him sneak the little young master out. I thought that since eldest young master is little young master's uncle, he definitely wouldn't hurt little young master, so I agreed to eldest young master's request and helped him with this matter. That's enough. Do you think he won't do anything to the baby because he's the baby's uncle? Or do you think that as long as you finish this job, you can get the money, and as long as you have the money, your son will be able to pay off his debts and won't be chopped off? The woman did not expect Su Yiyan to expose her true thoughts. Her eyes darted around for a moment, but she quickly calmed down and said in a sorrowful voice, "Young madam, I was at my wit's end and had no choice but to do this kind of thing in a moment of confusion. Little young master is fine now. Please forgive me this time." It would have been better if she did not say this. Once she said this, Su Yiyan was filled with anger. She was so angry that she went forward and kicked the woman to the side. "You were at your wit's end. You were at your wit's end and wanted to use my son as a sacrifice in exchange for your son's safety. You people are not worthy." Chapter 852. The woman was stunned by Su Yiyan's kick. When she came to her senses, she instinctively tried to struggle, but Su Yiyan stepped on her, rendering her unable to move. "Get this straight. My son is fine because my family was capable enough to snatch him back from you, not because you realized your mistake and sent him back safely. So, how do you have the audacity to ask me to spare you and forgive you? Or is it just like the old saying, a shameless person is invincible in the world?" This was the first time that everyone in the family Hua had seen Su Yiyan like this. In the past year that Su Yiyan had married into the family Hua, she had always been very gentle and kind to her family. She did not put on any airs and would even cook with several of the family's chefs from time to time. It was precisely because of her down-to-earth nature that everyone in the family quickly became close to her and naturally treated her as a gentle and considerate person who did not have a temper. It was only when they saw Su Yiyan like this today that they suddenly realized that Su Yiyan was not without a temper. It could even be said that when she was angry, she looked very much like Hu Chenhuan. When Hu Chenhuan saw this scene, he vaguely remembered that when Hu Xiaofeng had spoken rudely to him, Su Yiyan had also flown into a rage and rushed out to avenge him. When he thought of this, Hu Chenhuan more or less felt a little upset. Before this, he was the only one who had received such treatment. Su Yiyan, who was completely unaware that her man was still strangely jealous of her son, did not care about what the people around her thought. She only wanted to punish this thief on the spot and crush him to death. In her opinion, the person in front of her was full of lies. She did not believe a single word she had just said. Whether it was a lie or a truth, what did it have to do with her? Her son was her son, but other people's sons were not their sons. She only thought that her son's fingers would be chopped off if he did not have the money to pay his debts. Why did she not think about what would happen if her child was stolen and fell into the hands of others? Although Hu Qihan and Hu Chenhuan were brothers in name, they had turned against each other because of what had happened in the early years. Hu Qihan probably wanted to kill Hu Chenhuan now, not to mention brotherly love. Especially because of the change of ownership of the Hu Corporation, everyone knew that the relationship between the two brothers was not good. It had even reached the point where they would fight to the death. Even outsiders could see it clearly, not to mention the family Hu, who had watched the two brothers all the way until now. However, this woman could easily say that she felt that Hu Qihan was the baby's uncle and would definitely not hurt the baby. It could be seen that she was extremely selfish. Uncle Zhang, call the police. Although I really want to kill him, we are good citizens. We can't use lynchings. Let's leave it to the professionals. I believe that the righteous ones will give me and my child a satisfactory explanation. Yes, I'll go now. Seeing that Su Yiyan had made up her mind, Uncle Zhang turned around and left without looking back. The woman did not expect that after she had explained the matter clearly, Su Yiyan still wanted to hand her over to the police. Her expression changed again, and she cried loudly, young madam, please spare me. I still have a son. He has just become an adult and knows nothing. Now, those creditors are chasing him. How can he live without me? Young madam, I beg you, let me go just this once. As long as you let me go, my son and I will repay you in the future. Chapter 853. The woman cried miserably, but Su Yiyan's heart did not soften at all. Instead, as if she had been enlightened, she suddenly realized something. Oh, yes, you still have a son. Yes, I still have a son. Young madam, you're also a mother, so you should know how I feel. The child can't live without his mother. My son is still so young. He can't live without me. For the sake of my son, for the sake of the family who all these years, please forgive me this time. Don't send me to the police station. I'll kowtow to you. As the woman spoke, she struggled to get up and kept kowtowing to Su Yiyan. She looked quite pitiful, but everyone present felt a little strange when they heard her words. What did she mean by, for the sake of the family who all these years? She made it sound as if the family who had not paid her any salary or benefits all these years. She had suffered a great loss, but she still did not leave the family Hua. Su Yiyan's face darkened again because of her words. It's because I'm also a mother that I know how abominable the people who try to hurt my son are. The woman's face stiffened, and an ominous premonition arose in her heart. After you go to the police station, you'd better explain your crimes properly. You'd better hand over all the evidence you have. Otherwise, we won't need your son's creditors. We can deal with him. Su Yiyan leaned over to the woman's ear and chuckled. You should know that killing him is as easy as killing an ant for us. The woman was stunned for a while before she seemed to suddenly wake up. She kept begging for mercy. I'll talk. I'll tell you everything. Don't hurt my son. Don't hurt my son. She looked like a pitiful mother when she was worried about her son, but the things she did made people feel no sympathy for her. After Uncle Zhang called the police, the other side acted quickly. About half an hour later, a group of people came to take the woman away. They also copied a copy of the surveillance footage in the family Hua house and the content of the transaction with Hua Qihan that the woman had kept. She did not know if Hua Qihan was really stupid or if there was no one he could trust around him, so he could only do it himself. His contact with this woman was actually done in person, without the slightest concealment. However, his arrogance and stupidity had saved Su Yiyan and the others a lot of trouble. They believed that Hua Qihan would have to go to jail today if there were no accidents. Su Yiyan watched with her own eyes as the police took the woman away. Only then did she turn around and go upstairs to look for her adorable children. At this moment, little Xingxing had already been coaxed to sleep by Yuan Yuan. He lay in the cradle with his eyes closed, but his mouth was slightly open. From time to time, he would squirm a few times. It was unknown if he was dreaming of something delicious. Dun Dun and Silly Girl circled around the cradle happily, but their movements were very light and did not make any noise to disturb the sleeping angel in the cradle. When Su Yiyan and Hua Qinhuan entered the house, they saw this scene. Most of the anger that had accumulated outside was extinguished, and they could not help but smile a little more. When Yuan Yuan, who was also guarding the cradle, saw the two of them come in, she immediately said shyly, "Master, the little master has fallen asleep." Well, Yuan Yuan did a good job. Su Yiyan smiled faintly and touched Yuan Yuan's head, praising her. After praising her, she thought of the two little guys circling below and quickly added, "You all did a good job today. Qinhuan, the babies, and I should thank you." Chapter 854. Yuan Yuan and the two little guys were very happy to hear Su Yiyan say so. Dun Dun, in particular, raised its head and patted Su Yiyan's calf happily and reservedly, as if to say, "You're welcome, you're welcome." Su Yiyan was amused by it. She picked it up and rubbed it from head to toe, kneading the big meaty guy into a soft puddle. Dun Dun enjoyed it and was angry at the same time. It felt that its owner had embarrassed it in front of its son. As soon as Su Yiyan's hand stopped, it jumped out of her arms and ran out with its son. Yuan Yuan followed the two dogs out of the door. Suddenly, only the two adults and the sleeping baby were left in the room. Su Yiyan stood by the cradle and reached out to poke the little guy's warm and soft little face. Her heart was finally at ease. Hua Qinhuan stepped forward and hugged her waist. He whispered, "Yan Yan, I'm sorry." Su Yiyan was slightly stunned. After she reacted, she couldn't help laughing. "Why are you apologizing? It's not your fault. If you hadn't brought Yuan Yuan home, the baby would have been in danger this time. Don't worry. The same thing won't happen again." "Well, I believe you." Su Yiyan leaned in Hua Qinhuan's arms and rubbed his chin. Then she seemed to think of something and her face darkened. "That woman, I've already asked Xiao Yang to keep an eye on her. Don't worry. Neither she nor Hua Qihan can escape." He originally wanted to spare Hua Qihan's life for the sake of his parents. He wanted to let him have a taste of what it was like to be kicked when a man was down and bullied when he was down. But of all things, he shouldn't have done that to his child. Hua Qinhuan's eyes were slightly cold. He had already calculated that even if this incident didn't take his life, he would definitely put him in jail. As for whether they could come out alive after entering, that was something that no one could guarantee. It was impossible for Su Yiyan to have any sympathy for these two people. She only said in a low voice, "Get someone to check on that woman's son. You suspect she's lying. I just want to see what kind of stupid brat this gambler is. He gambled so much that his mother stole his child. And then, if what she said is true, will you soften your heart?" Soft-hearted. Su Yiyan turned to look at Hu Chenhuan as if she had heard the funniest joke in the world. "Am I such a saintly person in your heart?" "Of course not. In my heart, you are kind, smart, opinionated, and have a clear distinction between good and evil. It's just that I heard that a girl's heart would soften after giving birth, so..." It's true that one's heart will soften after giving birth to a baby, but it also depends on who it is. As Su Yiyan spoke, she couldn't help but reach out to touch her baby's chubby face. That woman raised her child alone and was implicated by her son. It sounded really pitiful. But there must be something hateful about a pitiful person. The reason why a brat would become a brat was because no parent was innocent. Just from what that woman said, it could be seen that her son might not be a good child. She was definitely not a good parent herself. She could not even be considered a good person. At the thought that her child had almost fallen into Hu Chihan's hands because of that woman, Su Yiyan's heart was as hard as a stone. She could pick it up and smash her head with it at any moment. Hu Chihan hated Hu Chenhuan so much. When she was pregnant, his child had died from a miscarriage because of Hu Xiaofeng's pushing. Who knew if this person would be crazy enough to kill or throw away their child? Chapter 855. Hu Chihan is the mastermind, and she is an accomplice. In my heart, they are equally abominable. There is no such thing as who is innocent and who is less guilty. Hu Chenhuan thought deeply. He pursed his lips and said apologetically, "Hu Chihan probably wants to use the baby to threaten me and make me return the Hu Corporation to him." "I know." Su Yiyan lowered her eyes slightly, and there was a hint of coldness in them. "I also know that if the baby really falls into his hands, even if you return the Hu Corporation to him, he will not return the baby to us." This matter was said to be a kidnapping, but in fact, it was a premeditated kidnapping. The worst result of the kidnapping was to kill the baby and lose both the baby and the money. The best result, from Hu Chihan's point of view, must be to send the baby away so that she and Hu Chenhuan would never be able to find him again. At the thought of this possibility, Su Yiyan's heart twisted. Her child, who was only a month old, was about to be involved in this dirty power struggle and become a bargaining chip in others' hands. No matter what, since Hu Chihan dared to do such a thing, don't blame me for being cruel. If you don't have the heart to punish him, you can leave this matter to my brother and my grandfather. Anyway, I will never let him go so easily. When Hu Chenhuan heard Su Yiyan's words, he couldn't help but laugh. He asked in a low voice, "In your eyes, am I such a saint? After all, he is your brother." "You..." Before Su Yiyan could finish, Hu Chenhuan had already interrupted her. "My parents are the ones who have something to do with him. He has nothing to do with me." "Ha!" Su Yiyan didn't quite understand what he meant and turned to look at him in confusion. Hu Chenhuan didn't dwell on this topic. "Don't worry. I've always been soft-hearted to you and the baby. He doesn't deserve it." Su Yiyan turned her head and looked into Hu Chenhuan's eyes. Knowing that Hu Chenhuan wasn't lying, her heart settled down. She buried her face in Hu Chenhuan's arms and didn't say anything else. Su Yiyan had thought that Hu Chihan would be arrested soon since there were witnesses and evidence. She did not expect to suddenly receive news from the police that night. Hu Chihan had gotten the news in advance and had run away. She could not find him for the time being. How did you get the news in advance? Could it be that there is another mole in the family? Su Yiyen's face was very ugly, and her heart could not help but tremble. What if there were other traitors in the family who were tipping him off? She and Hu Qinhuan couldn't be at home 24/7, and Uncle Zhang and the others couldn't be by their children's side 24/7 either. The same thing could happen a second time if it happened once. What if Yuan didn't react in time this time? Hu Qinhuan knew what she was thinking when he saw her face. He held her hand tightly and comforted her. Don't panic. Listen to me. There is no mole in the family. It should be that the woman and Hu Qihan made an appointment in advance. Hu Qihan didn't see her for a long time and couldn't get through to her phone. Then, he realized that something was wrong and ran away in advance. Su Yiyen frowned slightly and looked puzzled. An appointment in advance. But how did they know in advance when the nanny would leave the room and when the woman would sneak the child out for him? The nanny who was responsible for taking care of the baby was also an elder in the family. Because there were 7 or 8 grandchildren in the family and she had rich experience in taking care of children, she was appointed by Uncle Zhang to take care of little Xingxing. You're tuning in to the Journey of the Soul YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.